صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا ابن رسول الله يا مظلوم يا غريب كربلاء يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز فوزا عظيما صلوات اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم واكرمنا بنور الفهم اللهم افتح لنا ابواب رحمتك وانشر علينا من خزائن علومك يا ارحم الراحمين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. My brothers and my sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Do you know what Ya laytana kunna ma'akum means? You hear it every day. It means we wish we were with you. Ya laytana kunna ma'akum. We wish we were with you. فَنَفُوزَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. We would have moved mountains if we were with you. We would have done on that day what any other day would have been deemed impossible. You know how Laylatul Qadr is that night which you can be born again and all your sins can be forgiven? Tonight is a night where your heart is on fire. It's not a night where everything is clean. Tonight is a night where your heart is burning. But you know what the Imam says about the burning heart for the lover of Allah? It's not me saying it, I'm not just using poetry. The Imam says, Hubbullah, Nur, wa nar. Nar, fire. The love of Allah. The love of Abu Abdullah is the love of Allah. The love of Allah, Nur wa nar. Imam al-Rida alayhi salam says that Allah has Allah has created in the hearts of the Shia a burning fire that never subsides. Now throughout the year, what might happen for the lover of Abu Abdullah, it might be a small ember. It's still there. And as soon as it's fanned, the fire ignites once again. Every year in Muharram, Allah gives us the opportunity for the fire to grow again. We are a people that have been taught not to fear death. We are a people that have been taught to stand up for the oppressed, to stand for justice, even in the face of an absolute massacre. And that's why they say these Shia, they just keep coming. We keep trying to kill them, and they just keep coming. And they make more, and more, and more. We are the closest thing there is left, if you want to call us a tribe, a race, whatever you want to call us. We're the last warrior type of tribe left. The last warrior type of people left. We're white, black, red, yellow. But we all have that fire in our hearts that makes us warriors, men and women. Tonight, you have to let the warrior out. All night. Tonight is a night of fiery ibadah. Today, you have to put yourself in the place of the companions of Abu Abdullah. Imagine all of us here were there, sitting around that fire at night. And then Abu Abdullah, he saw the night sky. He saw the night sky and he saw the enemies, 30,000 of them. And he said to his companions, take the night sky as a covering for you. Allahu Akbar. Take the night sky as a covering for you. They only want me. And he meant it. He was willing. Can you imagine the loneliness in his heart? When he offered that? You know when you offer someone something, you can offer someone something and you don't mean it because you're being polite. Or you can really offer someone something. Someone says, I like that ring. And you actually take it off and you say, Tfaddal. It's for real, take it. You really mean it. You're already detached from the ring. Khalas, you gave it away. So you already know what it feels like to leave the ring. You know what it feels like, you took it off. When Abu Abdullah told him to leave, he knows what it feels like now to be alone. Because they might accept. He told them to leave. And they said, never. Abu Fadl al-Abbas stands up and says, how can you even offer me to leave you? What was I created for except this day? The companions of Abu Abdullah would stand up one by one. They would say, Ya Imam, if I was to be killed and then burnt and then have my body turn into ashes, thrown into the wind, I'm not even pieces anymore, I'm ashes, only to be revived and then killed and then have my body burnt once again and then ashes in the wind 1,000 times, I will never leave. See, how sweet do the swords taste with you, Ya Hussain? That we won't leave you in the middle of the night. This very same night. Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam is worried. She feels maybe they're going to leave. And as soon as Habib ibn Mudahir hears about that, he brings everyone out. They all stand in front of the tents. And they say, Ya Zainab, we are all here for you. We are the soldiers of the daughter of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And when she sends her salam to him, he puts dust on his head. He says, who am I? That's fire. That's fire in Habib's heart, a true Shi'i. This is our cloth, this is what we're from, this is what we come from. Be very honored where you come from. Abu Abdullah alayhi salam stand, honored Islam. He didn't allow Islam to be dishonored. He said, Mithli la yubaya mithlah. Notice how he says that, and that includes all of us. He doesn't say, I don't give bay'ah to Yazid. He says, Mithli, one like me does not give bay'ah to one like Yazid. Because there are many like Yazid throughout all of time. But he says, one like me. He wants us to be like him. Abu Abdullah wants us to follow him, to be like him. He honored Islam with his stand. You know, when we look around the world right now, we see the powers that be. We think they're too strong. They have so much money. They have all the media outlets. They have all the weapons. They bomb and kill the Muslims. And there's nothing we can do about it. Because they're just too strong. And we see these poor children right now being killed in Afghanistan, in Palestine. Shia of Imam Ali alayhi salam in Afghanistan being killed because they're Shia. Young children, Muslims in Palestine. as we speak. Babies. And the lover of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam, he can't look at the world around him and think that it's impossible to change it. He can't. Because the whole reason that the Imam stood up, the Umayyads had been ruling for 20 years. Islam was pretty much perished by that time. People didn't even know where it was. When Imam Ali was killed in Salat, the people of Sham asked, Ali ibn Abi Talib prays? He prays? That was the power of the propaganda machine at the time. They always had that power. They still have that power. Imam al-Hussain saw that to wake these people up and to bring the will of the ummah back, he has to sacrifice something huge, something very valuable. The most valuable blood must be spilled. The blood of Rasulullah must be spilled. The blood of Rasulullah. Husaynun minni wa ana min Husayn. That blood that ran through his veins was the blood of the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he's decided that my blood will wake the people up. And it did. It did. Even politically at the time, it did. Right after Imam's martyrdom began the movement of the Tawwabin, the people that regretted not being there. They rose up against the Umayyads. Began the movement of Mukhtar. Began the movement of Zayd ibn Ali. Slowly people began to rise up against the Umayyads. And the Umayyads, they broke down. And then the Abbasids came in their place. But mithli la yubayya' mithla. There's always one like them. There's always one like Yazid. Always. So there has to always be people like Hussain alayhi salam. No one can be like Hussain alayhi salam, but we must try to be like him. He wants us to be like him. He's calling us to his way to be like him. He's the lantern of guidance. He's the lantern of guidance. We are the ones who hold the lantern. There's something we have to do. But we can never allow the world around us to overwhelm us in that change can't happen. Abu Abdullah proved that it can. Abu Abdullah brought back the role of the woman in the ummah. At the time, nothing. Women were completely downtrodden. But suddenly, Zainab alayhi salam, Kulthum alayhi salam, Sukayna alayhi salam, they become messengers of Islam. Because without them, he brought them on purpose. Notice, even when he told his companions to leave in the middle of the night, he said, take your woman, they only want me, and they only want to take my woman captives. So he knew his women are not going to leave. Just him and his woman would remain. He brought them. They were going to be the message. Without them, there is no us. He brought that back. Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam gave us a symbol for all of life. That whenever we feel pain in our hearts, for anything, يَبْنَ شَبِيب إِن كُنْتَ بَاكِيًا فَابْكِ الْحُسَيْنِ. The Imam, in later years, when he's speaking to a companion named Ibn Shabib, he says, if you ever come to cry, if something in the world is harming you, making you cry, remember Abu Abdullah, and then cry for Imam Hussain. So your tears always have depth and meaning, because there's no tragedy like Karbala. So he creates, for the fire in the hearts of the Shia, he creates this symbol of oppression that the Ahlul Bayt faced, but of always rising, where the blood reigns victorious over the sword. What other story does the blood reign victorious over the sword in? In this one, the blood reigns victorious, supreme. Then he says himself, I rose up because I wanted to seek islah fi ummati jaddi. I wanted reform. I wanted to renovate the religion of my grandfather that now was unrecognizable, and I wanted to bring it back. And he did. He brought it back because there was nothing left at the time. Tonight is the night we honor this sacrifice, this great sacrifice. From tonight till tomorrow, we live in Karbala. Only Abu Abdullah on our minds. And tonight he was walking through the tents, and he would look to the tents of Abu Fadl Abbas, and he hears his voice reciting Quran. And he walks around, he sees his son Ali Akbar, he sees his companion Zuhair wa Habib sitting down next to him. He sees Qasim sitting by his side. And then, you know what he does? When they all remain loyal and stay with him, he says, look up. They look up at the sky. And then he shows them where they're going to be at nighttime, tomorrow. He shows them paradise. And he says, Ya Abbas, you're going to be there. And Akbar, you're going to be there. And Zuhair, you're going to be there. And then Qasim says, what about me? Will I come? And Imam Hussain tells him, my son, Qasim. He raised him, yeah? He raised him for 10 years. He said, my son Qasim, how do you find death? And Qasim says, with you, uncle, sweeter than honey. And he says, Qasim, tomorrow you will be of the men, and he will die by our side, just like Ali al-Asghar. And then Qasim says, they're going to kill Ali al-Asghar? He's a baby. And he says, yes, they're going to kill Ali al-Asghar. And tears strolled down the eyes of Qasim. And then tears strolled down the eyes of the companions. And then tears strolled down the eyes of Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. On a night like tonight, Imam al-Hussain speaks to Allah all night. He speaks to Allah throughout the night. Tonight was a night of ibadah. They kept speaking to Allah. Because when Imam al-Hussain would speak to Allah, he'd think of nothing else. He was so in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he'd think of nothing else. You know the story of when Imam Ali alayhi salam has the arrow in his foot, and the only way to remove the arrow is to do it when he's praying, because when he's praying, he forgets even his own pain. Because when he speaks to Allah, nothing else is on his mind. When Imam al-Hussain was by himself, imagine him, he's by himself, and surrounding him are the enemy soldiers. And they're attacking him with swords and spears, and there are arrows in his body, and he's bleeding head to toe. And every now and then someone comes and strikes him and moves back. And every time the Imam drops to the ground, when he hears them say, attack the tents, he stands back up. He's looking at the tents the whole time. He says, you can't attack the tents if I'm still alive. And a man tries to take a ring from his finger, and the ring wouldn't come off. So he cut his finger. And as they are surrounding him from all angles, and as he keeps standing up and fighting by himself, you know what he's saying the whole time? Allahumma muta'ali al-makan. Ya Allah, O greatest in my eyes. He's speaking to Allah as it's happening. Allahumma muta'ali al-makan. There is no higher station than yours. Azimul jabarut. Shadidul mihal. Ghaniyun an al-khalaiq. He just keeps speaking to Allah the whole time, bloodied. His whole face, his beard is red. He's speaking to Allah the whole time. In Dua Arafah, Imam al-Hussain shows us how he speaks to Allah. The beginning of the dua, the first 10 minutes, the Imam's thanking Allah for all the different faculties in our bodies that we take for granted. Then he says, Ya Allah, thank you for the smallest things. Thank you for my brain. Thank you for my eyes. Thank you for bringing women to me when I was a child and letting them take care of me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you notice how he's so helpless when he speaks to Allah. Just like his father. His father was Asadullah on the battlefield. But then with Allah, he would cry like an infant all night. I wanted us to put ourselves in the shoes of Imam Hussain as we speak to Allah. I want us to feel what he felt as he's speaking to Allah in the final night. I wanted to read the words of his son, Imam al-Sajjad. In Dua Abu Hamza al-Thamali, Imam al-Sajjad, these are Imam al-Sajjad's words, right? And you know how each Imam takes the knowledge from the Imam before him? I want to read some words from that dua, and I want us to just reflect over the words on that night, the way the Imam spoke to Allah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In Dua Abu Hamza, Imam al-Sajjad, the son of Abu Abdullah, he says, Sayyidi, أنا الصغير الذي ربيته. He says, my Lord, I am the small one that you raised. From when I was young, when I was a child, you raised me, Ya Allah. When Abu Abdullah was a child, who named Abu Abdullah? Who named him? When he was born, Fatima alayhi salam, she gave him to Imam Ali alayhi salam. She said, will you name him? He said, I will not name him before Rasulullah names him. Rasulullah came and took him in his arms. Rasulullah said, I will not name him before Allah names him. Jibreel told him his name is Hussain. Allah named him. And Jibreel told Rasulullah the story in detail. Abu Abdullah was still Saghir, still an infant, in the arms of Rasulullah, and he cried for him. But then he was raised in the arms of Rasulullah, in the lap of Rasulullah. Allah raised him. Now, the Imam says in the dua, which each one of us reflects on our own selves on this night. وَأَنَا الضَّالِ الَّذِي هَدَيْتَهُ. I was the one that was straying left and right, and you guided me. You showed me the way. وَأَنَا الْوَضِيعُ الَّذِي رَفَعْتَهُ. I'm the one that you've honored. I'm the one that had no honor until you honored me. وَأَنَا الْخَائِفُ الَّذِي آمَنْتَهُ. I am the one that was scared, but that you made feel safe. You kept me safe always. The way in which the Imams speak to Allah is in a way of helplessness, as if they were infants themselves, giving themselves completely to Allah and trusting in His plan. The same way Rasulullah did when he said, Ilahi ila man takiluni. Lord, who will you entrust me to? After the day of Ta'if, the same words Abu Abdullah uses in Dua Arafah. Lord, who will you entrust me to? Now Abu Abdullah, in the middle of the night, completely given himself to Allah. Completely. Then he hears sounds coming from the tent of Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam. This night was known as the night of Sayyidah Zainab's. Because Sayyidah Zainab, how hard it is, each one of them had such a challenge. Abu Fadl Abbas had such a challenge. Sayyidah Zainab had such a challenge. How can you be, for Abbas, how can you be, you know you're the bravest and strongest warrior on the battlefield, you know that. And you're seeing your best friends die in front of you. One by one, your best friends who you grew up with, all dying in front of you, before you. And you're the best fighter and the best warrior. And you see them all dying in front of you. And then your brothers, one after the other. There's reports that he lost 4, 5, 6, or even 7 brothers. Aside from Abu Abdullah. The sons of Ali, he's seeing one by one they're falling. He's their older brother. He's seeing his younger brothers die in front of him, and he still doesn't fight. Why? Because the Imam said no. He kept the sword inside. He stayed till the end. How hard must that have been for him? For Sayyidah Zainab, how hard is it to know that tomorrow all the men will go to battle and that will be the climax of their battle. But for her, it just begins. All the companions saw heaven. They were going to be there in less than 24 hours. Zainab didn't see. Zainab didn't go with them. Zainab had to stay behind for a little while to make sure the message was received. How hard is that? On this day she loses all the Ahlul Kisa at the same time. She loses Rasulullah, she loses Imam Ali all over again. She loses Sayyidah Fatima all over again. She loses Imam al-Hassan all over again. Abu Abdullah was the last one left. So when she lost him, she lost everything. So she knows tonight is the last night with my family. It's finished. There's a poem that we recite usually on this night for Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, where she speaks to the night sky. And she tells the night sky, when she's sitting down alone, praying Salatul Layl, she says, Ya Layl, O night, prolong your hours, extend. Don't let the dawn come. Just stay as long as you can. She says, Ya Layl, tawil sa'atak. Tawil means prolong. Sa'atak means your hours. She says, Ya Layl, tawil sa'atak. Ya Layl, ihmil ahatak. Ya Layl, طول ساعاتك يا ليل احمل آهاتك يا ليل طول ساعاتك يا ليل احمل آهاتك. Oh night, remain as long as you can be. Oh night, don't go, stay with me. Oh night, remain as long as you can be. Oh night, don't go, stay with me. Tonight I say goodbye to my beloved brother. I watch the stars and cry. After Hussain, I have no other. Hussain, brother, just tonight stay beside me. Without you and Abbas, who will hide me? Oh night, remain as long as you can be. Oh night, don't go, stay with me. Ya Layl, tawil sa'atak. Ya Layl, ihmil ahatak. The dawn of Ashura came around with the voice of Aliul Akbar. He rose his voice with the other.
Imam al-Hussain would just watch Akbar as he recited the adhan. He would take in every moment, looking at the one who resembled Rasulullah. The Imam constantly would go out into the battlefield. He would tell them, don't you know, I am the son of Fatima Zahra. I am the son of Rasulullah. Will you kill a son of a prophet? There is no other son of a prophet on this earth. They say, but you're also the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And the son of Ali is not allowed to drink any water. The camp of Abu Abdullah, full of dry throats. Abu Abdullah watched as his companions would go out to fight, one by one. And then comes the time for his family. He watches his beloved Akbar slain on the battlefield. He sees the spear in Akbar's chest. He lifts the spear and brings him back to the tent. He takes the sons of Zainab, Aun and Muhammad. He watches two young brothers defending each other on the battlefield, resembling himself and Abbas. He even takes the son of his beloved Hassan, Qasim. And he watches the young brave Qasim fall to the ground and call, Uncle, Amma adrikni. He called out, Uncle, help me. And the Imam says, my beloved Qasim, how much it pains me to hear you call for help and I cannot help you. But what broke his back was when Abbas told him, leave me here. When he heard him call him brother for the first time. Can you imagine Abu Abdullah's heart when he returned to the tent with two horses, but only one rider? Coming back holding his horse and the horse of Abbas. Now alone, Gharib Hussain, Madlum Hussain, Atshan Hussain by himself, standing in front of 30,000, and he calls out, Hal min Nasirun Yansuruna. Is there anyone out there to come to the aid of the son of Rasulullah, to protect the women of Rasulullah, to protect the women of Haidar? And there is no response. But there are small cries, tiny cries, as if the baby tried to say, Labbaika ya Abu Abdullah. The 6-month-old baby had no water to drink. There was nothing left to give. Zainab steps out of the tent with Asghar, the young baby. The pure eyes looking up as Zainab gave the baby to Imam al-Hussain. Abu Abdullah takes his young infant child. He holds Asghar's small feet in his hands. and Asghar small hands wrapped around his finger. He tells him, my Asghar, Habibi, just wait a little longer. Let me try to get you some water. Abu Abdullah steps out into the battlefield. An army stands before his courageous heart with a young baby in his arms. If you want to kill me, why would you want to punish this baby? The thirsty baby. Umar ibn Sa'ad notices the people begin to argue. Should we give water? So he tells Harmala, pull your arrow back, ya Harmala, and aim it towards Hussein's son. Harmala aims towards the young baby, the tiny infant, in the arms of its father. His pure eyes looking up, not knowing what's about to happen. Defenseless Asghar. Oh. Harmala pulls his arrow back and he shoots the arrow towards young Abdullah, and the arrow pierces its neck from ear to ear, and his head hangs on by the skin, and he flaps his arms like a slaughtered man. And Abu Abdullah watches. He watches the neck of Asghar pierced, and he throws the blood into the air. Ya Allah, do you see what they've done to the son of your prophet? Ya Allah. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. ولعنة الله على الظالمين إلى يوم القيامة.